Hello and welcome to the Aero Army Wyn TT Triathlon Series. It's on Zwift with a chance to avoid the swim and avoid the run and just do the bike leg and do battle against the clock, short and sharp individual time trials. I'm Matthew Keenan, joined by former Australian representative at World Championship level, Carly Taylor. And Carly, these races, they are short, which makes now crucial, the all-important warm-up. We get to commentate, but those that are on their bikes ready to start, I hope they've got their engines purring.
Yeah, being about 10 minutes away from the start time now, I think a lot of the riders, or all of them, hopefully are doing a bit of an effort to get that heart rate up and getting ready to go flat out, straight out of the gun and the gates.
This has got a really strong triathlon flavour to it, with Luke and Beth McKenzie, the two people behind Wyn Republic and the clothing brand that is. And you've told the story about Wyn being their first daughter. And I like that this is one of the events where we've seen triathletes come together as well with cyclists. And we're also seeing that spread down throughout the grades as well. I know quite a few people who are riding in B, C and D grade, and a few women as well who don't ride road races at all, but they're preparing with their fingers crossed that there'll be triathlons happening at the end of the year with hopefully COVID under a bit more control, and they're using this as preparation.
Yeah, it has been awesome to see so many people participating, and the grades that have the biggest numbers are actually those B, C and D grades. I saw earlier today there was about 150 riders already registered in D grade. So it definitely has been awesome, and seeing the female grade having so many riders as well and them all smashing it, and a lot of the Wyn Republic ambassadors too taking part. So it's good to have some racing just to keep motivated during this time. And hopefully we all have races later in the year, whether you're a cyclist or a triathlete. But definitely has been some fun racing and a good way to try to get a PR during winter.
Let's take a look at the standings so far. In the men's category, it's been a dominant performance by Zach Johnson. He's won the first two races, so he sits at the top of the table on 20 points. Last week, he got the win ahead of Kieran Lewis. It was then Dominic Paloli who was in third position. This is an example of it. Dominic is a really promising young mountain bike cyclist. So we've got road riders, triathletes, and mountain bikers all coming together, which is fantastic. The good news for us, Carly, is to see Kieran finish in second position. It makes me feel a lot better about Kieran tearing my legs off in the team time trial that we do together on a Friday.
Yeah, he definitely is a strong Zwift racer and cyclist out on the road. And now we're just looking at the results from last week in the B category, with Alex Smith taking out the win last week by about 20 seconds ahead of Jeffrey Pyman, and Matt Sullivan in third.
And Matt Sullivan is the leader of the series overall. Scott Kenneth is in second position, but Alex Smith, he's one of the youngsters. He's just ridden the one race. He's back again. Looking forward to seeing how he goes. That was a pretty solid win, almost 20 seconds to the better of Jeffrey Pyman. Let's now take a look at C grade. C grade was quite an international field, wasn't it, Carly? We had Keel C. He managed to win in what was a tight battle ahead of Mark Padman. It was just 2.2 seconds the gap in that category. So it was really tight. Further down the list in 8th position, Tori Otaki from Japan. He's managed to pick up 8th there, and I think he was second in the first race. So he actually currently leads this series by just 2 points. So this is really tight, C grade.
Yeah, 2 points down. Yeah, Todd Kotzhart and then Mark Padman equal second there. So definitely C grade's a tight battle, as we just see D grade, the results from D grade's race last week there as well. I think I might let you try to say the winner's name, because I know I'm going to screw that one up.
I'll have a go at it. There's no guarantee. Poita Malazovsky, he managed to get the win by 23 seconds. Wendy Cho was in second place, and she leads the series. Ryan Nielsen, Cupcake Cartel, I like that, sounds very promising, in third position last week. last week, and Ryan is actually in second position in the series overall, 5 points behind the lead. Let's now take a look at the results from last week in the women's race. And for the second week running, it was the top two in exactly the same position. Keely Gamble getting the win. Jenny Pettonen in second position, 26.9 seconds the gap. But again, Carly, the same 1-2. It's a points-based system, so at the moment, Gamble only leads by 2 points.
Yeah, and also interestingly, is in third place, we have 4 riders that are all equal on points. Fran Van Burst, Kath McKay, Aram Han, and also Gabrielle Keeley. So it's going to be a really tight battle there for the overall GC.
And there you can see just 2 points the gap between Keely Gamble and Jenny Pettonen in the women's series. In the A men's series, Zach Johnson is leading by 7 points ahead of Eddie Houle of South Africa, and then it's Carl Jury who's in third place on 12 points. In B grade, it's Matt Sullivan who leads. He's got a 5-point buffer. He's had a first and a second place, so he's been super consistent. Scott Kenneth is in second position. Alex Smith, who was the winner last week, he's just ridden the one race. He's in third place. Let's now take a look at C grade. It's Tori Otaki who leads by 2 points. Todd Cockshut is in second position. Mark Padman is equal second. Both of those guys just 2 points behind the lead. This is a pretty tight category, the C grade category. And now on to D grade before we start to turn our attention to this week's race. And Wendy Cho, she leads by 5 points. Ryan Nielsen, and I like the sound of the Cupcake Cartel, in second position on 15 points. Then Andrew Oy, followed by Olivia Lanuz in fourth position. We're not too far away from making a start, Carly, and this course is a relatively short course, New York LaGuardia Loop. I've got some of the details here on the history of the name of this circuit, which really caught my attention. It's named after one of the famous New York mayors from around about the time of the Second World War, Fiorello LaGuardia, who was short, 5'2". Hence, it's a short circuit. And today's race, it's 2 laps around the LaGuardia Loop, and it's just 7.1 kilometres.
Yeah, I did read up on that as well, and I never knew that either. So it was awesome to hear a bit of the history of why it was called that. But yeah, they've got the riders have 2 laps of the circuit today, and it is another short, sharp one. So definitely going to be, I think, another exciting race, and hopefully, yeah, Kieran, I shouldn't be biased, but I do hope that he's up there again, because he's definitely been tearing our legs apart each week when we have to race against him. So it will tire him down for sure.
Yeah, well, hopefully it leaves him really fatigued for Friday. We're not too far away from heading down to the pens and getting started. They all do start together if you're tuning in for the first time. This is race number 3 in the Aero Army Wyn TT series. There are 6 races, and it is all about participation. We do focus on throughout the coverage who wins the race, as that's where the camera will be heading to. But importantly, we like to follow the results and see who picks up the placings in the lower grades. And the key is participation and seeing how your progress goes. And Carly, given that we're in Melbourne and we're in lockdown, what better activity to do than to measure yourself against the clock?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're just about ready to get underway. The course itself, it doesn't have a lot of climbing on this course. It's relatively limited in terms of the altitude gain. For the 2 laps, the altitude gain is just 73 metres. So we're expecting some really quick times and plenty of high pace on this course. Just about ready to make a start. Down to the last 15-second countdown. And you can already see on the start line, as we are streaming with one of the riders from the women's category, riding at almost 300 watts, ready for the clock to get started so she can take off with plenty of momentum. They're underway in race number 3 as we are on board with Jenny Pettonen, who sits in second position in the series overall. And Carly, it will be really important for Jenny to get off to a good start and stay in contact with the series leader, Keely Gamble.
Yeah, she's a really experienced racer, Jenny. She's actually been racing in the off the map Pro-Am series as well. So you could see there in the starting pen, she was really getting her power quite up there before the timer went down to 0, and off to a good start by the looks of it, right up there amongst the men as well.
Well, she's got a few wheels to chase. That's one of the challenges. There's no drafting, so you don't get the benefit of being able to draft, as we're on board with Luke McKenzie, who's riding in B grade. And Luke McKenzie, sure, is retired, but the guy who is behind Wyn Republic is a world-class triathlete. He's managed to make it to the podium in the Hawaiian Ironman. But one of the traps that you can fall into in this format, Carly, is actually chasing that wheel in front of you and getting distracted by it rather than just sticking to your own game plan.
Yeah, he did message me earlier today saying he was racing B grade because he was feeling a bit under the weather and had a cold. So it looks like as if though that cold isn't affecting him too much, as he seems to be sitting on quite high numbers there and really quite amongst it. So it's awesome seeing both Luke and Beth participating each week and really getting amongst it and sharing their stories and how they're also dying in these short, sharp races as well.
Well, just as he was going over that little rise, he was riding at 6 watts per kilo. So an unwell Luke McKenzie is probably better than a healthy just about everybody else. Now we're on board with Kieran Lewis. We're allowed to be a little bit biased here, Carly. And go Kieran. Kieran was second last week. He said he was sick on Friday and then he tore our legs off in a team time trial. At the moment, he is tracking for what would have him as the race winner. He is on the forecast, courtesy of Zwift Power, 3 seconds up on Zach Johnson. He is riding at 7.2 watts per kilo.
Yeah, he's definitely super strong. And I think if anyone knows this circuit good, it's going to be Kieran. He is the guy behind a lot of the circuits we choose for our series and was behind also choosing this one. So he knows it well and knows when to increase his effort and when he will keep his speed. And yeah, he's definitely looking like he's on a good one, and he's riding at 7.6 watts per kilo at the moment.
Well, Zach Johnson has just fought back. He's now got himself with his nose just in front. Eddie Houle has moved into second position, but it's a 1 second gap between Eddie Houle and Kieran Lewis. Zach Johnson has moved into a 6 second advantage ahead of Kieran Lewis. And I can't remember the last time that I commentated on a race with Zach Johnson in it, Carly, where he wasn't right at the pointy end.
Yeah, he has been racing really strongly on Zwift this last period and is a strong racer on the road as well, but definitely has been going really well in this series, winning the first 2. So he's clearly on some good form and been using Zwift a lot in this COVID period. But just looking now at another Aussie Hump Day rider, Lady Fran, she's a really strong rider, very consistent, also racing in the Pro-Am series happening at the moment. And she's a massive advocate and a member of the community on Zwift that really does try to improve and make everyone feel welcomed in the women's community. And it's awesome seeing everything she's been doing and helping the community grow, and also being so strong herself as well.
It pretty much sums up the entire Aussie Hump Day ride community that you refer to. Next on board, this is McGregor, who we're on board with now, as she's Bronwyn McGregor, sitting just a little bit off the pace, but she's inside the top 10 at this point, riding for the Vixen Fox squad. She's riding pretty strongly. She's been averaging so far more than 4.5 watts per kilo throughout the ride. As they're currently tracking, Carly, it is your old training buddy, Gabrielle Keeley, who is up at the top of the leaderboard. She's got her nose ever so slightly in front.
Yeah, that's awesome. I still have been training with her, and she puts me to the sword every time I do go out with her, and actually just won the state title in the Masters category on the weekend. So definitely on good form. And yeah, as we just bumped back to Kieran, who is still flying, and really it's going to be a tight battle, I think, tonight between him and Zach, with just a couple of seconds separating the two with 4 kilometres of racing done. So they're about at that halfway mark now, and yeah, still a really close battle.
He's fighting really strongly. The gap between he and Zach Johnson at the moment is hovering at around about the 8 or 9 second mark. It's been fluctuating a little bit either way, but they're both riding, according to Zwift Power, at a similar weights per kilo output. So Kieran is going really well by comparison to the series leader, Zach Johnson, who is the benchmark, and we're now on board with him. He's out in front, and he's holding on to a 4-second advantage over Shinon of Japan and a 6-second advantage over Lewis of Australia and the Zwift HQ Rockets.
Yeah, and here's Gabrielle now. It's I think going to be a really close battle as well in the women classification. It's going to be close, obviously, in the men with such a tight race against them. And yeah, Gabby's riding really strong. I think she's got actually a 15-second gap on the next rider. So with about 3K to go, she's definitely looking good for the win, and maybe a bit biased, but yeah, go Gabby.
She's going really well at the moment. She's currently sitting in 6th position in the series, or actually she's in equal 3rd position because there are 3 riders locked together on 9 points. So at the very least, this is a chance for her to separate herself from those other riders who are on 9 points and move clearly into 3rd place. But even if she wins tonight, there's not enough points for her to take the lead over Keely Gamble, but she might be able to just get a little bit closer to put herself into contention for the top of the table. On board now with Coulibaly in the women's race, and she's sitting not too far off the pace. She's keeping herself in contact. I'm always fascinated, Carly, to watch the wattage output as we're back on board with Zach Johnson and to see how consistent it is, how smooth they can be over the little rises as well. And there's no real dips in their power output.
Yeah, it is pretty impressive. I guess a lot of these riders, though, do know their abilities and what powers they can hold for this type of duration. But it's definitely powers way beyond what I think I can hold for 5 seconds. So it's impressive to watch. And we're just on board again with Kieran Lewis, who's his heart rate's quite high there, and just the type of effort that they're putting in. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And also causing a bit of a stir towards the top of the leaderboard, moving now up into 2nd position behind Zach Johnson, is Dominic Polili, who hails from a suburb just a couple of suburbs away from me. He's in Templestowe. He's one of the youngsters. He's still in the junior category, and his heart rate is through the roof, Carly. He's riding at 198 beats per minute. Dominic, we want to see 200.
Yeah, well, what did they say? It's 220 minus your age. But it looks like now Kieran's just coming towards the finish line now.
He's just about to catch Dominic, but Dominic got there for 2nd position. So Zach Johnson has taken the win. It looked like Dominic was in 2nd spot, then Kieran across the line in 3rd. As we move back to the women's race, and your old training partner, Carly Taylor, she is on target. And the finish line is just over the crest. She can see the finish line. The arch is just in front of her. Jenny Pettinen again in 2nd position. So the rival has changed in front of her, but Jenny has been ever so consistent as Gabrielle has taken the victory. And Carly, you'll be pleased with that. It makes you feel a lot better about being half-wheeled on all those training rides.
Yeah, Gabrielle's one of my best friends and one of the hardest trainers I know. So it's awesome to see her get the win there tonight. She definitely deserved it, and she's been in the top 10 each week so far. So been very consistent, and also Jenny Pettinen, very valuable points there, getting a few extra points ahead of the the current leader being Keely. So, yeah, awesome result. And we're just seeing the men's results from this week now up with Zach Johnson again taking the win. And it's looking like Kieran did come home just to get second with Dominique Paolili. Probably said
the
that
avatars
wrong.
Going across
third.
the avatars going across the line caught me by surprise. But Kieran Lewis, he did get second position, but it was tight with Dominic. It was then Eddie Houle in fourth position. Carl Drury was in fifth place. Jesper Verhoeven was in sixth position. So it was pretty tight there at the top, particularly look at the time gaps between second place and fifth place. Those four riders separated by just 5 seconds. But again, Carly, Zach Johnson has shown himself to be the strongest, and he's the only guy to go under 9 minutes. He further extends his lead at the top of the table in the Aero Army Wyn TT Series. In B grade, Jacob McKee has managed to take the win by 2 seconds ahead of Matt Sullivan. Matt Sullivan's been really consistent, and poor Luke McKenzie, Carly, under the weather. He finished in third. Not bad.
Yeah, still a pretty good effort by sick Luke McKenzie.
And for Matt Sullivan, importantly, that second place finish will consolidate his spot at the top of the overall table. Now on to C grade, and once again, a strong Japanese representation in C grade. Shinya Nakajima has taken the win, a convincing win, and a blistering time of 9 minutes and 32 seconds, 41 seconds ahead of Scott McKenna. Brian Nuttall in third position. Mark Padman, he's been very consistent. Mark in fourth position this time around. And the points that Mark has picked up for fourth place, by my quick calculations, will be enough, Carly, to move Mark to the top of the overall series as we hit the halfway mark. Let's now take a look at the results from D grade. Dylan Ironwill, I like it, with a hashtag in the middle, has managed to take out the victory there. Mark Owen it was in second spot. Wendy Cho in third position. So Wendy, again, picking up some good points, and that enables her to stay at the top of the overall standings. Oliver Laners in fourth position. Rowan Mason in fifth place. And Aquaman Marty in sixth position. Kevin Geary, Sproggle McGoggle in eighth spot. Kay Clymer in ninth position. And Paul Gardner rounded out the top 10. I'll let you read this one, Carly.
Yeah, winning it today in race 3 is Gabrielle Keely. She won it by 10 seconds ahead of Jenny Petterton, who races for Team Aero. Bronwyn McGregor was third, 3 seconds behind Jenny. And yeah, then we had some more strong races with Izzy Butterworth. I don't know if that's her real name, but she was in 15 seconds back behind Gabrielle. Fifth was Kim Garland. Jackie, I'm gonna try with this one because Luke just told me that Jackie is actually his sister. So Jackie Cooley-Bab was 6th. So Luke McKenzie's sister was also racing tonight, which is awesome to see. Kath McKay, who has been really consistent there, was in 7th. Behind was Fran Van Burst, Rhiannon Norton, and Sarah Fitton rounding out the top 10. So some very strong women racing tonight, and some pretty common names as well that race on Zwift right up there too, which is awesome.
Yeah, and importantly for Jenny Petterton, with Keely Gamble, who won the first 2 races, not racing tonight, Jenny has now moved into the overall series lead, which highlights the importance of consistency in this series, and it has been rewarded. She's halfway through. She's got 3 to go.
Yeah, Jenny Petterton is very consistent, and I think that's definitely one of her strengths. She's always up around the mark, and finishing second in all 3 races just proves that. But yeah, super strong, and it's awesome to see her currently leading the series.
So she's at the top of the series at the halfway mark in the women's. In the men's, it's Zach Johnson who leads. He's 3 from 3, and there are 3 races to go. Let's see if Zach can make it a clean sweep. Carly and I will be back next Tuesday. For those of you who have ridden, congratulations. Hopefully you'll be back as well. If we don't see you before then, hopefully we see you at some point online on Zwift, and we'll give each other a ride on. Until then, it's bye for now.